While it was once dubbed a retirement home for European stars, the MLS is beginning to breed some elite talent. One of the latest Americans to impress is Brenden Aaronson. After crossing the Atlantic to play football in Europe in 2020, the New Jersey-born winger is now tearing up the Premier League. But how did he get here? Today we tell you the story of Brenden Aaronson and how he battled his way to Leeds United. Stick around to find out why he almost gave up on football and why his career almost ended before it even began. Humble beginnings. Brenden Aaronson had quite a normal childhood. He was raised in Medford, New Jersey, to a soccer-mad father. His dad persuaded him to try football in his early teenage years, and the decision quickly paid off. Aaronson attended Shawnee High School for just 1 year before he was selected to join Philadelphia Union's YSC Academy. This was where he played his first official games of football and completed his high school degree. The attacking midfielder starred for the Union's youth teams at this time, but was not committed to the club with an official contract. First struggles. And in his pursuit of a written deal, Aaronson soon found himself having to jump over his first hurdle. The Union's development team at the time was called Bethlehem Steel FC. While Aaronson had impressed at a high school level, the academy team came very close to turning the winger away. The scout involved in Aaronson's signing, Omid Namazi, said that he heavily doubted the winger's physical capabilities. He knew that his technical play was special, but he doubted that his physique would allow him to flourish at the top level. Namazi called him small and frail. But despite this, he was inspired enough by Aaronson's on-the-ball ability that the team were willing to take a chance on the American. With Namazi's green light, Bethlehem Steel signed Aaronson to an amateur contract. He would attend Indiana University while playing for the Steelworkers. Signing for Steel. After spending a bit more time in the Philadelphia Union Academy, Aaronson made his first professional start in October 2017. He walked down the tunnel for the first time in an away draw against Tampa Bay Rowdies. Wearing the number 63 shirt, Aaronson would go on to make 21 appearances for the Steel. He scored his first goal in July 2018, a left-footed finish in a 4-1 win over Atlanta United too. Aaronson had a special relationship with Atlanta, as you'll find out later on. It didn't take long at all to get the call-up. MLS endeavours. Just 2 months later, it was announced that Aaronson would be joining the Union's first team for their 2019 season. He was originally called up to be a backup player, but injuries to accustomed veterans such as Marco Fabian and Alejandro Bedoya meant that Aaronson was thrust into the starting lineup. Aaronson debuted in March 2019, where he scored on his MLS debut against his favourite franchise, Atlanta United. From that moment onwards, Aaronson established himself in the central number 10 role of coach Jim Curtin's 4-4-2 formation. He spearheaded the midfield diamond, proving his versatility by filling in as a left-sided box-to-box midfielder when suspensions required him to play there. Aaronson kicked on. He scored 3 goals and made 2 assists, playing over 1,600 minutes in his rookie season. The Medford man was nominated for the 2019 MLS Rookie of the Year award, finishing second and being the youngest player out of the 5 finalists. Off the back of such a solid campaign, his groundbreaking form was acknowledged at an international level. Aaronson received his first senior call-up to the USMNT team in October 2019 for Nations League matches against Cuba and Canada. While he didn't make appearances in either of these games, he made the bench for both and absorbed the atmosphere of international football like a winger-shaped sponge. He then earned his first cap in January 2020 in a 1-0 win over Costa Rica. But as he celebrated his first international game, the trajectory of his career was about to entirely change. The world broke in the new year, and Aaronson suffered another hitch in his hike to glory. Pandemic setbacks. With a stellar season of experience under his belt, Aaronson's development was stunted by the worldwide lockdown. He was unable to meet or train with his teammates. Many young players with top-flight experience would let their ego get the better of them and be lazy after being left to their own devices like this, but Aaronson was different. Instead of falling by the wayside, Brenden decided to train with his younger brother Paxton. The two prioritised fitness training, and their sibling competition turned brotherly love into some serious progress. They pushed each other to their limits, and eventually Brenden wasn't the only one to prosper in Philadelphia. Paxton Aaronson. Jumping forward to the present day, Paxton currently plays for the Union and looks to follow in the footsteps of his older sibling. The 19-year-old has made 35 appearances in the MLS, earning him a call-up to the US Under-20s team. He then scored 7 goals in 7 games at the CONCACAF Under-20s Championship in June 2022. This was enough to win him both the Golden Ball and Golden Boot awards at the tournament. Post-pandemic prosperity. Back to 2020 though, and as restrictions eased, a breakout year opened up for Brenden Aaronson. He finished the season with 31 appearances and 4 goals. These innovative performances bagged him a spot in the MLS season Best 11. Aaronson soon became a cult hero in Philly, being branded the Medford Messi as homage to his hometown. His contributions led to the Union winning their first ever trophy as a franchise, the 2020 Supporters' Shield. By this point, Aaronson had become a stalwart in the US national team, scoring his first goal for America in a 6-0 victory over El Salvador in December 2020. Red Bull Salzburg. With silverware in his cabinet, persistent rumours started to fly regarding Aaronson's future. He looked set to follow in the footsteps of the likes of Tyler Adams and Alphonso Davies by moving his trade abroad in Europe. The whispers were finally put to rest in October 2020, as it was confirmed that Aaronson would join Red Bull Salzburg in January 2021, after the MLS season had ended. While Philadelphia kept the transfer fee undisclosed, they did announce that it would be the highest transfer fee paid for an American homegrown player in the history of the MLS. American coach Jesse Marsch welcomed Aaronson to Austria with open arms. Yet, that didn't mean that Aaronson was trusted immediately. The New Jersey-born midfielder had to fight and scrap his way into the starting lineup. Even then, he only made his debut as a substitute in a 2-0 victory over Rheindorf-Altach. Aaronson's versatility helped to properly win Marsch over. He decided to use Aaronson in a wider role, praising the winger's ability to quickly understand the philosophy and strong mentality. The American was utilised all across the final third and did whatever was asked of him up front. And his openness to playing in different positions was soon rewarded. He scored his first goal for Salzburg in February 2021, a game-winning strike during a solid 3-1 win over Austria Wien. Soon after, he won some Austrian silverware, as his side bested LASK in the Austrian Cup final in a dominant 3-0 victory. Aaronson bagged himself the second goal in that match and scored a total of 9 goals in 46 appearances for Salzburg. In that same season, he won his first Europa League caps. While Salzburg may have been underwhelming in that competition, Aaronson looked like he belonged. It was almost as if he'd always been playing at a continental level, proving the talent of the MLS on an international scale yet again. But with most Americans, and Admiral Bundesliga players in general, a future in the German Bundesliga looked likely. Aaronson could have followed Christian Pulisic and Gio Reyna by moving across the border and into one of Europe's big 5 leagues. Yet, yellow walls or bratwursts didn't tempt the Medford Messi. Aaronson instead opted for a reunion with Salzburg gaffer Jesse Marsch, who'd left to join Leeds in February 2022. It all leads to Leeds. In May 2022, Leeds United announced the signing of Aaronson on a 5-year contract. The transfer fee was reported to be £25 million, making Aaronson the second most expensive American player of all time. Marsch knew exactly what he was getting when Aaronson arrived in West Yorkshire. He wasted no time in throwing him into the deep end of Premier League football, starting him in their season opener against Wolves in August. Less than a month later, and Aaronson forced an error from Chelsea keeper Edouard Mendy. It allowed him to score his first Premier League goal in a 3-0 home win over rivals Chelsea, which was the first time in which Leeds had beaten the Blues in 20 years. So, with a wealth of top-flight experience under his belt, Aaronson has arrived in the English Premier League. His determination and adversity through his struggles has clearly paid off, and Jesse Marsch looks set to unleash his fellow countrymen onto backlines throughout the Premier League season. Expect to see Aaronson tear up the league, and expect his little brother Paxton to be coming pretty close behind.